Electric vehicle sales in January hit a new Irish record after a year of disappointing sales. Data from the Society of the Irish Motor Industry, SIMI, shows EV sales last month reached 4,925, just shy of 5,000, which is a 20% increase on January last year. And overall, new car registrations for the month of January were up 7%. Brian Cooke, SIMI Director General, joins me now. Morning, Brian.
Good morning, Shane.
Are the Irish finally waking up to EVs?
Well, it does feel like we have started to turn a corner. It's still a relatively new market. But as you said, a record month. 15% of the new car market. Just back in 2023, it was 19%. So we still have a bit to go. But up on last year. And I do think if you combine the hybrid vehicles as well, for the first time, over half the new car market in January was people who can have an electric driving experience with their new cars. So I do think some of the issues around some of the myths that are out there about
Yeah.
battery life, some of the charging infrastructure is improving. So I think some of the barriers are actually getting out there. And I suppose one of the biggest challenges is we need to create a second-hand EV market. Most people buy used cars, and we've gone from having 20,000 EVs that were 3 years or older this time last year to nearly 40,000 now, and that'll be nearly 60,000 this time next year. So that will help the normal change cycle for many
Mm.
people. So we're bringing more people. Just over 80,000 now fully electric vehicles on the road. So
Yeah, one of the worries when we were talking about electric cars was the lack of infrastructure. Would we have the charging points around the country? That's kind of changed now, where most people charge their car at home.
yeah, look, I think the Irish experience is like we're a small country geographically. I mightn't feel like it at the moment. We do have a temperate climate, so we're actually ideally suited to electric vehicles. Uh, on the charging infrastructure, the good news is there's a lot of Irish houses with driveways for which you can actually, have a home charger, which makes it convenient. It also makes it very, really good value for money. But we still do have issues around the public charging infrastructure. There's
Yeah.
some really good plans in place. Almost weekly now, we see new hubs going in place, and we need to see more than that. We see more and more of that, and I think that's where the government's focus is probably going to be over the next couple of
Yeah.
years.
I have an electric car. For about a year, I've never plugged it into anywhere bar my house.
Yeah, well, I think for a lot of people, I mean, I drive an electric car. I would say 90% of my charging is done at home. So again, for most people, the charging it's a peace of mind piece more than anything else. But as I say, we are an ideal country, small country, temperate climate with a lot of people who can charge at home. So we should be a model for electric vehicles.
And we're not that progressive a country, though, because we have, what is it, day 13 of people with no electricity. People in rural Ireland who may have considered getting an electric would go, well, hold on, I could have been stranded in my house for 13 days if I didn't have the car charged in advance.
Yeah, look at that. That is a clear negative. I do actually. One of my colleagues lives in the west of Ireland, drives an electric car. She was actually able to make herself a cup of tea yesterday, even though the electricity is out. Off her the battery on her own electric car. But look, we can't pretend that's a very serious issue. It's very difficult for people at the moment. Um, I try and keep my car charged at least 60, 70% most of the time. So in the event I get called to do, say to do an interview in the west of Ireland, I'm ready to go at all times. So I think maybe that mindset may need to get into people if we're anticipating a bad weather event to charge your car up, as maybe up to 100%,
Mm.
in advance.
It was a disappointing last year for EV car sales. We have had nearly 5,000 electric vehicles sold last month, but one swallow doesn't make a summer, and one good January doesn't make a good year.
Well, Shane, when we looked at the numbers last January actually was the second best month at the time for electric vehicle sales. We already knew then that they were going to fall off a cliff, and they did. They only started to recover in the last quarter of last year. So there is an element of cautious optimism as opposed to outright positivity out there. I mean, the mood music out there among my retailer members is that people are more interested in electric vehicles this year. I think, again, if we look back to 2022 when we sold over 15,000 new electric vehicles. That was the first year of big sales. Those cars are 3 years old this year, so you will have people coming back to trade in, and the evidence is the surveys and the evidence on the ground is if you own an electric vehicle car now, your next car is almost certainly going to be an electric vehicle. So, and in addition to that, there are more new models coming on, and particularly well priced models coming on stream. We've seen a couple already this year, but more are coming on
Yeah.
stream over the next few months.
The government support for electric vehicles, we've had a range of measures. I think back in the day, you got the free toll, or you got maybe free chargers installed in your house, or different grants. Do we still have the state propping up in some way the electric car market? And does that need to continue now?
Yeah, well, in terms of for private sales, which is where most of our EVs are actually sold, unlike in a lot of other markets, which are company sales, we still have a grant of €3,500. We still have a €300 grant for home charging.
Which
So
was 600.
which was 600. The important thing is, though, is if the government could commit to keeping those grants, even at the levels they are, in place for 2 or 3 more years, that would generate more confidence among consumers that the government is actually serious about it as well. Where perhaps we fall down is on the company side. The incentives we have are not as generous as are in some other markets, and I think that's borne out
Yeah.
by the lack of company EVs.
Whereas in general, we're seeing 251s on the road for the lucky people to buy new cars. Petrol is still king.
Yeah, well, I mean, petrol, 28%. It's the largest market share. But if I look back to pre-COVID 2019, diesel and petrol combined were 88% in 2019. They're 45% in January. So we are moving away, and the electric vehicle is is the vehicle of the future for most people. But for now, for some people now, it is the
Yeah.
vehicle of now.
So it's petrol first of all, and then your plug-in hybrid. So kind of petrol, but where you can top it up with a plug-in.
Yeah, well, that's the second most popular is the traditional hybrid vehicles that don't have a plug. So
Oh, I get you.
they are vehicles that can be driven on the battery. And
Sure,
particularly when you're driving in urban areas, you will be driving on the battery
sure,
all
not
the
a
time.
plug-in. I get you.
Yeah,
Yes.
and then diesel, and then electric, and the plug-in hybrids then
Yeah.
are about the same market share at the
Are
moment.
people driving automatic or manual?
Well, I think if electric and hybrid cars are automatic, so they don't have a choice. So if that's 55% of the market, that means more people are driving automatic. The differential, even in price between automatic and manual, is not as significant as it once was. So over 70% of the new cars sold in January were automatic.
Are the days of the manual numbered?
Well, they are, but it's going to take a long time. There's about 2 million manual vehicles in the Irish car fleet at the moment, so it's going to take 15, 20 years to see from all of those to go off the road. So, but certainly on the new car market side, their days are
Yeah.
numbered.
And the Hyundai Tucson, the best-selling car in January. We love our kind of SUV style cars here in Ireland, don't we?
Yeah, well, I mean, in a lot of ways, that's a marketing term. The SUV, emanated from the States, which are mainly
Tanks.
trucks.
Yeah.
The car you mentioned, I don't like talking about specific brands, but the car you mentioned is a family car, and that type of car is really popular. Not just that particular model, but those similar cars that have proved to be the most popular across Europe over the last few years.
And the most popular EV was the Volkswagen ID4. Just back to something you said at the start, the second-hand EV market. Is there one in Ireland at the moment? Is there good trade-in on an electric vehicle, or is it the idea that you buy it and you stick with that brand new electric?
Well, I think like we're still in the early stages. I say there's about 40,000 that are over 3 years old. So some of them will be coming back in as used cars at the moment. We haven't really established a used electric vehicle market, but there is, if you're actually buying one, there is really good value out there at the moment in terms of someone wants a used electric vehicle, particularly a 3 or 4 year old one, which will have good range. It will still have half the battery warranty as well attached to it. So if people are looking for a 3 or 4 year old electric vehicle at the moment, there's really good value and really quality cars out there.